Testing. 1, 2, 3. Are we here? We're live. Well, we're not live, but drop a bomb. Round of applause. Thank you, audience. Bro. How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of the radio show. Thanks for watching. Let's get a round of applause for you. And a bomb. And let's drop a fart for any hating ass observer. Motherfucker observing my life and yours, bro. My life is hella good, bro. My life is actually amazing. You know what's crazy? The other day I was just thinking. Every day I wake up and I live the best day ever over and over and over and over and over. On like an endless loop. It's actually crazy, bro. You know. With that being said, I do want to transition into something I've been wanting to talk about, which is some information that's like, I'm not going to say it's heavy on YouTube, but it's, it's being pushed out a lot. There's a lot of different topics that are being pushed out a lot that I want to talk about today. But the one I want to talk about most, without trying to figure out a word to express what I'm saying, is how important it is to like your life and the quality of life that you have is regulating your nervous system. Oh my gosh, that's like such an important thing, because like, what American society suffers from today, with a lot of people due to like the media, the stimuli, our environments, and our families, and the different personalities that we deal with day to day, is sorry, I just drank. I just came back from Papa Do's. Why are y'all how come nobody told me that Papa Do's got the hose, bro? I gotta transition into something earthly. I ain't gonna lie to you. Why nobody told me this, bro? What's wrong with y'all, bro? Y'all gatekeeping the females at Papa Dough I'm not even talking about the people that were eating lunch. I'm talking about the employees. Every female there, I was just like, hold on. That's our server? Crazy work, bro. Crazy work. I be having to restrain myself out here in public. But like the first thing we could talk about though is what is the nervous system and why is it important? Well, like the nervous system is very important because the nervous system is the apparatus that you use to interact with the world. Your nervous system is actually what you actually are. You're like your body, like your flesh and your bones and your blood are like they're more like insulation and like tubes and shit, fluid, that it's all important. But the nervous system is actually what you're using to interact with the world. What do I mean by that? You smell, taste, touch, hear, and all the extrasensory senses come through the human nervous system. Your brain isn't actually seeing or hearing any of this stuff. It's taking the information provided by your senses, which is the technology, which is all connected to your nervous system. And it's the technology that you use to interact with the reality that we call Earth. Now, but yeah, and what do I mean by a dysregulated nervous system? I heard a brother put it bluntly. Okay, people that are always in like a defensive shell is an example of a dysregulated nervous system. People whose um nervous system and thinking patterns, because it all correlates together, your mind and your thoughts have a drastic effect on your nervous system and vice versa, because your nervous system, you know, which all your feelings are based around, you know, you feel through your nerves. um it all correlates with what you're thinking and feeling, right? And these thought patterns leave impressions on your nervous system, right? So this is what creates the cycles that you live in throughout your life. Like your nervous system is acclimated to the climate of your life and your reality, and it has an in sync rhythm, if this is making sense. This is why people run into like the same problems over and over again. It's because their mind and their nervous system produces the same thought patterns in the same scenarios, which leads to the same feelings over and over and over again, right? And what affects the nervous system is the same things that affect the mind. Trauma, patterns, repetition, and there's another thing. Trauma, repetition. I think repetition, but you get what I'm saying. I don't want to get too nitpicky on the particulars, but you know, but the one of the main things is trauma, though. Trauma and repetition are like the two main things that's going to dictate, you know what I'm saying, the cycles of your mind. This is why like your daily patterns in control of all these things, your actual physical patterns of what you do from like when you wake up to go to sleep, and what you're thinking from when you wake up and go to sleep, and how you feel from when you wake up and go to sleep, and all of your actions and decisions, you know what I'm saying, dictate the patterns that you're going to experience. This is why it's important to be self-reflective, because self-reflection is like step one of being conscious. It's like the foundation of consciousness. It's being able to look at yourself and examine who and what you are. So you have to be constantly monitoring your thoughts. Okay? First, you need to understand that you are not your thoughts. You observe your thoughts, and your thought is a stream of consciousness that's being because your body and your nervous system also functions as an antenna, you know, wireless antenna, and you stream consciousness through your nervous system. Okay, your brain and all this is all a technological apparatus to interact with extrasensory wavelengths, shit that we can't see, like how our phone interacts with Wi-Fi and all this stuff. Your brain is interacting with like a whole etheric network of all these different frequencies, and your consciousness is one of those that you're able to observe and monitor. So you need to be like aware of what you're thinking, saying to yourself, also the things that you're indulging in, you know, and you need to be aware of the way that you're feeling, making yourself feel in the environments that you're in, you know, because all of these things are like they correlate and they're intertwined, you know, in the maintenance of the mind. So what are some suggestions to maintaining a positive neural orientation, if that's a correct word to express what I'm trying to say? A, your thought patterns, right? But what severely influences your thought patterns? Music, vibration, sound, you know. You need to be listening to positive music. I ain't saying, you know, because I still have a side of me that wants to listen to like, you know, even though I don't listen to like drill and like the very low vibes, I can't really go that low, but I can listen to like, you know, sometimes when I go low, I'll listen to like some Travis Scott, Playboy Cardi, You know, certain of his stuff I can't really get down with. But you get what I'm saying. But I noticed though that I have way better days. In reality, it just ultimately feels better when I'm listening to like music from the 70s and the 80s. You know, Bob Marley, reggae. You know, songs that promote a positive vibration, feeling, and perspective on life and reality in yourself, right? And I also try to throughout the day monitor what I'm thinking. You know, I try to look in the mirror and speak positive stuff to myself every day. And I try not to think or speak negatively about myself and really others, even though sometimes I fail because somebody might piss me off and I'm not, you know, I ain't meditating on the mountain, but I definitely try not to speak negatively of others for the most part, which you really shouldn't do because we just create negative vibes, bro. This is like we need to move in our step. We're obviously being forced to, but we just need to be conscious of the vibes in the atmosphere that we're creating because us as humans, right? We are individuals, but we're also a collective. So our individual actions and output into the reality is reflected into the collective. So, you know, you need to just be conscious of what you're putting out there for yourself, and that will in turn affect what you're putting out to others and the rest of the world. We don't need it. Like I was in the car, me and my family, we just went to Papa Do's for Mother's Day. And dude, boomers are like they just constantly, because people can only like your vibe, your vibration. All of this is spiritual words for like describing extrasensory perception of people's neural output, you know, the neural frequency. You know, people with a negative their nervous system is attuned to like the lower frequency, the negative vibes, which are like survival, you know, life or death, ego. You know, it's all based around that, like basically the animal level of reality. It gives you an animalistic existence. You're always looking to react. You look at everything, you judge it in like the most minute. You put it in a box. You know, it's not very dynamic thinking. It's very rudimentary. Defensive. You're always in defensive mode, you know, where it prevents you from being able to interpret reality positively or accurately because you have a delusional interpretation based off of the shell that you built around yourself. You know, somebody with a dysregulated nervous system does not have the ability to go throughout life without reacting to stimuli. You know, these are people that are always in an emotional roller coaster. Somebody made me feel this way. Somebody said this, and now I feel like this. I can't do this because of that. Some external factor, you know, has affected me when they not realizing that their dysregulated nervous system is processing the information that's coming in through their lens, your traumatic lens. And this is why it's important to, like I said, self-reflect, but also to like whatever therapeutic process you need to go through to be able to rid yourself of the old wounds that have been afflicted on you. You know, you need to do that because you'll have a distorted version of reality based off of the traumatic experience that you had. Just like how we see on the internet, you know, men and women, and like the clash between men and women, the clash between the races, is all based upon dysregulated nervous system based on some sort of traumatic stimuli, you know, a past relationship. Now you look at all men like they ain't nothing, or you look at all women like you can't trust them. You know, some sort of fear has been implanted in your subconscious mind, and now you look at all particular group of people like they're this particularly, you know. And it's actually promoted heavily to have a dysregulated nervous system. I think this is like, you know, it's how they create crash outs, and it's why everybody from the hood is all, you know, You get what I'm saying? They behave the way they behave. It's not based off of genetics or any of the like the rudimentary, or biased things that people try to chuck it up to. It's all based on dysregulated nervous system caused by the environment and caused by generational curse, all this shit, man. You get what I'm saying, bro. You get when I'm picking up. You picking up what I'm putting down. So yeah. Just be conscious of all this. I ain't gonna go too deep. But like I said, heaven and hell, you know, people who are way, I guess to wrap it up, is you know, heaven and hell. There's a good guy that talks about all this. I want to give you his YouTube. You can just go to his channel. Let me bust this down. His name is Inner Mileage. He breaks all this down. There's a couple of other guys we don't have to talk. He's a good one. He'll give you a good overview of what I'm talking about. But your whole interface with reality is based off of your nervous system, which correlates with your thoughts and your daily life patterns, your environment, and the way you feel. And it's important to be conscious of how you're regulating this system, because that is going to determine the type of experience in life you had, right? Or you have. And a good way to regulate this system is all the stuff we were just saying, like therapeutic practices, and just being conscious of your energetic diet. So what you're saying, hearing, and feeling, I think that's a good way to pick it up and put it down. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you have anything to add to it. Hope this helps. I'm just trying to give tips to people. All the stuff that I see that helps me in my day-to-day activities in life, I try to give it to other people. So yeah, this helps. Give it a like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks.